Well, Proverbs chapter 12 has a lot of advice about women in it. So, ladies, I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion on this chapter as well. What do you think from this advice from a woman's perspective? Because it's usually addressed to a man, is typically how a lot of these documents are written because of the culture and nature of what they did back then. So, what would this be? What would this advice look like if it were for a woman? What would be that opinion, and what would a woman think about this kind of advice as well? Look forward to catching up with you in the comments on that. And if you're enjoying these videos, hopefully you're liking the videos. Hit the like button on them. That helps us to algorithm to show it to more people. Subscribe, share the links out to more people as well, so we can encourage more people to watch these videos and learn the gospel more. So in this one, verse 1, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. So some powerful information right up front for us to understand that we need to realize that being reproved is learning. Just because somebody says, hey, I think you're doing this incorrectly, let me help you do better, does not mean they're wrong. Okay? If we get offended and upset because somebody is trying to teach us something, I know it's human nature to want to defend yourself and want to protect what you know and defend your beliefs and ideas. But this is where wisdom comes in, is talking about is being willing to go, wait a minute here, hold on. I don't need to react that way. Maybe they have something I can learn. Maybe I should listen to the reproof and understand it better. That is real wisdom. That's an important point. When you can get to that point, life is going to be a lot better for you. Verse 2, a good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteousness shall not be moved. So some good advice on, again, just do good, be righteous, follow God. Verse 4, here we go, ladies. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. What do you think that verse means? Ladies, I'm looking forward especially is how do you interpret that? What does that tell you? Now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people that are going to be strongly argumentative on this one about the patriarchy type of a concept, because a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. And I think that I wouldn't take this from as a patriarchal standpoint. I think if you take it as it is a true statement. I mean, and you know, men, you can back me up on this, but if you have a woman in your life who is virtuous, who is hardworking, they are, you know, faithful to you, that is important. That is actually a bonus for men, that they have such a virtuous woman, because that virtuous woman becomes such an example and a help for that man. And of course, if she's not, it just turns bad and really goes in a bad way. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in this, without making it sound in a patriarchal way, you know, men are subservient to women. Although, you know, Dan McClellan brings up some interesting points about understanding sex in the Old Testament, the ancient world, that it's very different back then than what we think about it today. We think about it today as developing relationships and increasing our love for others and things like that. Back then, sex was actually seen as a dominance thing, a power play. So the person on top is the dominant one, the person on bottom is receiving, and they're the subservient one. Even in homosexual relationships, this was the same thing. So sex was not about sex, sex was about power over others, basically. So a woman who is willing to stay faithful to her husband was important, very important back then. And it's always been that way. And I do think on the flip side too, you could say that a virtuous man is a crown to his wife. I think that does go both ways. And ladies, you tell me what you think about that on the flip side as well. So verse 5, the thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. So, a lot of contrast again. Being good is good. Being righteous, doing those things is what you want to do. Being wicked is not so good. It's temporarily good, but it's going to eventually go really bad for you. That's really what it's coming down to on those verses. Verse 10, a righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. This is that Master Mahan principle. So if you are righteous, if you follow God, you're going to want to find more value in living things. There's less hate, so you don't hate animals. Or people, so you regard life as more important the closer to Christ you come, basically. Verse 11, he that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. So again, if you work for your food, if you take care of the land, if you work on prospering yourself, that's a good thing. You're happy with what the reward is that you get. But if you follow the people who are trying to do those get-rich-quick schemes, who are trying to do nefarious things, you are void of understanding. You don't really understand how truth works, basically. Verse 12, the wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hand shall be rendered unto him. So again, lots of these ideas of to follow righteousness is to do good, to have extra blessings of positiveness and help in our life. To do wicked means more problems and issues and things in our life. Let's see, verse 15, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. So if you believe you are right in everything, that could be bad. Because if you always believe you are right, you are going to not listen to other people's advice who probably have better opinions than you. You always have to understand that we relate to the world from our perspective, our map of reality. Other people relate to the world from their perspective. They may see it different than you, and they may have some wisdom and some advice from their perspective that you don't see. So taking in counsel, willing to look at things from other people's perspectives is super, super important to help us in bettering our life. Verse 16, a fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. So even, doing good can help you to people will overlook your faults, basically, if you are striving to do what's right. That makes it easier for people to do. If you're just a jerk, you're doing what's wrong, then you're kind of amplifying your faults, really. Verse 17, he that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. So fascinating that we're getting this idea of mouth and lips and words and things, that people who speaketh like the piercings of a sword. So if you have sharp words, if you are always attacking people, that's not always a good thing, basically. But people who are wise with their words are wanting to not hurt you, but help you. Verse 19, the lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Now, some of these are a little generalized out, to say that only bad things happen to bad people and only good people prosper is not a correct way to think about it. So we have to understand righteousness and wickedness is understanding your connection and direction with God. The closer you come to God, the more righteous you are. The farther from God, the more wicked. As long as you are facing God and moving towards Him, you are moving in a righteous direction. Whether that's just barely starting out or whether you've been doing it for a while, you're going in the right direction. It's when we turn away from God and go the other way, that's the moment of wickedness, basically. Let's see. Where did we go? Verse 21, I believe. There shall no evil happen to. I just read that one. Sorry. 23, excuse me. Oh no, 22. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. So again, sometimes it's best not to say things, even if it is true. It's just wisdom to know when to say it and what to say is important. Whereas if you don't know that, if you're foolish, you're just going to blurt stuff out all the time and get in trouble. Verse 24, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. Be happy. Choose happiness. Choose to improve your life, to look at the positive of things. That's so important for us to do. We can look at any perspective of this life we want to. And because of that, why not choose good perspectives to follow? If you're in control of it for your life, why not? Pick good ones. Verse 26, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. There's a challenge in there. It's always, the grass is always greener on the other side. Verse 27, the slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. So again, you can't eat the food you didn't kill, you didn't go out and get. You've got to work, you've got to do things. Verse 28, in the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof is no death. So following the righteous, and I believe this is more of a spiritual death than a physical death that they're talking about in there, but more important to understand that the path of righteousness is a continuing opportunity, whereas the path of sin is a stopping point in our progression eternally, and that's not what we should be looking at. So let's jump over to the next psalm, or next proverb, as we continue forward.